to our beloved professor, Dr. Gloria Benigno, and to my fellow classmates, good afternoon. In my presentation this afternoon, I will talk about another philosophy of education focusing on the curriculum, which is essentialism. What are your ideas when we talk about essentialism? That's right. Before I will proceed to my presentation, let me share to you the concepts that we will tackle. First, what is essentialism? An introduction. Essentialism as philosophy of education, certainty in knowledge and truth, certainty in values, the individual and society, fundamental principles of essentialism, and conclusion. What is essentialism? Morphologically, the term essentialism is composed of the word essential, which means basic or necessary, and the suffix ism, which means belief. By essence, essentialism means a belief that something is necessary. What is essentialism? Again, essentialism is the educational theory and educational philosophy whose followers believe that students should learn traditional basic subjects thoroughly. For essentialists, education involves the learning of basic skills, arts, and science. After the learning of these skills and subjects, students can function as a member of civilized society. Essentialists argue that classrooms should be a teacher-oriented. The teacher should serve as an intellectual and moral role model for the students. Essentialism is the view that every entity has a set of attributes that are necessary to its identity and function. This believes that an essence characterizes a substance or form in the sense of forms and ideas. It is permanent, unalterable, and eternal, and is present in every possible world. Essentialism as philosophy. There are three primary elements must be explored which describe the essentialist position on educational principles. Conservatives must ensure that their educational doctrine meets the criteria of consistency. The basic issues must be resolved in order to make essentialism to be considered as a consistent body of education. So if you say essentialism as philosophy, to discuss the elements of truth, values, and individual and the society. Essentialism is a relatively conservative distance to education that strives to teach students the knowledge of a society and civilization through a core curriculum, and is the most typically enacted philosophy in American classroom today. Certainty in knowledge and truth. The conservatives thought that all the essential knowledge must be transferred to the students who attend school, while essentialists believe that education prepares for the adult life, so it is necessary that whatever is learned must be true, and the whole transfer of knowledge is not fair. The essentialists believe that basic concepts should be taught using effective methodologies to the students attending school, as this prepared them to become holistic adults. Thus, essentialists adhere to concepts which proven true. Yeah, certainty in values. According to conservative educationists, the most important purpose of school is to transfer the traditional values to the young. The conservatives are certain that school has a proper role in transmitting the truth, and one does not find in the literature of conservatism that these values are permanent and do not change with the passage of time. Essentialism tries to instill all students with the most essential or basic academic knowledge and skills and character and development. Essentialists believe that teachers should try to embed traditional moral values and virtues such as respect for authority, perseverance, fidelity to duty, consideration for others, and practicality and intellectual knowledge that students need to become model citizens. The individual and society. The third philosophical requirement for a coherent conservatism is an old problem of the relation of individual to society. According to the primary theme that to the conservatives, the society is the important consideration, while the individual must fit himself without hesitation to the requirements of a social pattern. So essentialism is the view that certain categories, like for example women, racial groups, and etc., have an underlying reality or true nature that one cannot observe directly. Furthermore, this underlying reality or essence is thought to give objects their identity and to be responsible for similarities that category members share. Fundamentals of essentialism. The essentialists disagree on the value of education with different philosophies. They agree on the following four principles. First, learning is a process of hard work, insist on the importance of discipline and focus on more distant goals. Second, the initiative in education should take by the teacher rather than the pupil. Third, it is largely by the social environment and the man's material which determines how he shall live. Lastly, the schools should fit the methods of mental discipline by problem solving. So essentialism in education asserts that common and essential ideas and skills belonging to a certain culture should be taught to all citizens at the same level, at especially primary school level. To do this, the teacher's authority in the classroom is emphasized and the subject matter is the center of curriculum. Criticism of essentialism in education. The positive one is the stability of education. And the negative one is students take more on the passive role on their education. The criticism in the essentialist system, students are required to master a set of body of information and basic techniques for their grade level before they are promoted to the next higher grade. The content gradually moves towards more complex skills and detailed knowledge. Essentialists argue that classrooms should be teacher-oriented. The teacher should serve as an intellectual and moral role model for the students. The teachers or administrators decide what is most important for the students to learn with little regards to the students' interests. Who are the advocates and practitioners of essentialism? Now that we have learned about essentialism, let us know its advocates and practitioners. William Buckley. According to him, essentialists hope that when students leave school, they will possess not only basic skills and an extensive body of knowledge, but also disciplined, practical minds capable of applying schoolhouse lessons in the real world. In the world. To know more about William Bagley, he is an American educator, author, and editor who, as a leading essentialist, Buckley's lifelong professional commitment was to improve of the public education. Largely through improved teacher training, he became a leading spokesman of the Essentialists, a group of professional educators who advocated European-style emphasis on a rigorous curriculum of traditional subjects. In opposition to the approach of many progressive education circles, he was an outspoken proponent of equality in education opportunity and vigorously opposed restricting such opportunity on the basis of intelligence test scores. Next one is Tudor Caesar. According to him, the first object of any act of learning, over and beyond the pleasure it may give, is that it should serve us in the future. Learning should not only take us somewhere, it should allow us later to go further more easily. To know more about him, Tudor Ryland Caesar is an American educator and administrator who was best known for founding in 1984 the Coalition of Essential Schools or SES, which advocated greater flexibility within schools and more personalized instruction. Among other reforms, although he was engaged in numerous educational reform efforts, Caesar worked with the Coalition of Essential Schools or SES was the hallmark of his career. Three of Caesar's books was Horace Compromise in 1984, Horace School in 1992, and Horace Hope in 1996. Explore the fundamental components of Caesar's essential school reform effort. Curriculum of Essentialism. The foundation of Essentialist curriculum is based on traditional disciplines such as math, natural science, history, foreign language, and literature. Essentialists frown upon vocational courses. Curriculum strong emphasis on basic skills in elementary schools and on discipline knowledge and scholastic achievement in secondary schools. There should be a common core curriculum that is taught to all students. Essentialists believe that the core knowledge to change. Essentialists beliefs. Essentialism tries to instill all students with the most basic knowledge, skills, and character development. Essentialists believe that students should be taught to be a model of citizen. Essentialists believe that teachers should teach traditional moral values and virtues. Essentialists believe in mastery of learning. The essentialist classroom is centered on students being taught about people, events, ideas, and institutions that have shaped American society. Essentialists hope that when students leave school, they will not only possess basic knowledge and skills, but they will also have discipline, practical minds capable of applying lessons learned in schools in the real world. Teachers' role. Teachers teaches discipline and hard work. The teacher is an expert of content knowledge. The teacher is accountable for students' learning. So teacher's role is as an expert. They will impart essential knowledge, direct focused tasks. So the teacher should serve as an intellectual and uh, moral role model for the students. The teachers or administrators decide what is most important for the students to learn with little regard to the students' interest. The teachers also focus on achievement test scores as a means of evaluating progress. Teaching strategies. Use instructional strategies, lecture, memorization, homework, teacher and subject centered, and mastery of learning. So essentialism is different from doing, would like to see in the schools. Students in this system would sit in rows and be taught in masses. The students would learn passively by sitting in their desks and listening to the teacher. An example of essentialism would be lecture-based introduction classes taught at universities. Students sit and take notes in a classroom which holds over 100 students. Purpose of schooling. Prepare students to be productive, contributing members of society. But for essentialists, the aim of education is to teach the young essentials they need to live well in the modern world. Essentialists teach the basic subjects. For essentialism, aims to instill all students with the most essential or basic knowledge and skills and character development. Additionally, The purpose of attending a school is to enable students to contribute meaningfully to the society. Essentialists also hold the view that despite whether the students find a subject interesting or not, they should be channeled towards it as it is essential for their future. Conclusion: the education is a social activity which simplifies, purifies, and integrates social experience to understand the cultural heritage. The essentialists make sure that young people should learn all those things that an adult needs to be known as a useful member of society. The references, and that would be all. Thank you for listening and have a good day.